What if I told you the Buffalo Bills just made a decision that's splitting their entire fan base right down the middle? One of the greatest players to ever wear that uniform. And the team wants nothing to do with him. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to have a strong opinion on this too. And trust me, there's a second story coming that could change how this whole season plays out for Buffalo. Before we get into it, quick favor, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest Bills updates around. Let's get into it. Buffalo's brand new stadium just opened its doors, and with it came a big question: who gets on it inside, and who doesn't? This isn't some small detail either. This is a $2 billion building that's supposed to represent everything this franchise stands for, now and for decades to come. So when the team's business operations leadership came out and addressed this directly, people listened. They said it plainly: this particular legend will not be part of the displays celebrating the franchise's greatest names. He won't be part of the family circle inside the new building. We are talking about O.J. Simpson. Now here's the thing, on raw talent alone, this is one of the toughest calls a franchise could ever make. Buffalo picked him first overall back in 1969. He spent 9 seasons in that uniform, becoming the face of the franchise during a stretch when the Bills desperately needed a star. In 1973, he did something nobody in NFL history had ever done. He ran for over 2,000 yards in a single season. Think about that for a second. No running back before him had ever crossed that number, and he did it wearing Buffalo blue and red. For a stretch of time, he wasn't just the best running back in football. He was the best running back anyone had ever seen, period. And Bills fans of that era will tell you he carried the team on his back week after week. If we were only talking about what happened on the field, his name belongs in that stadium without question, probably in a place of honor. But football is only half of this story. Here's where it gets heavy, and where the team's decision actually starts making sense. In 1994, everything fell apart. His ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ronald Goldman, were found murdered outside her home in Los Angeles. The details that came out afterwards shocked the entire country. When police went looking for Simpson after the bodies were discovered, they say he wouldn't answer his door, and they noticed blood leading from his car toward his house. What followed became one of the most watched moments in American television history: a slow speed chase down the freeway in a white Bronco, with the whole country glued to their screens for hours. Regular television programming was interrupted nationwide just to broadcast it live. The criminal trial that came after was nicknamed the trial of the century, and it dominated headlines for almost a full year. A jury found him not guilty of the murders. But that wasn't the end of it. Years later, a civil court found him responsible for both deaths in a wrongful death case brought by Goldman's family, ordering him to pay a massive settlement. His public image never came back from it, and for an entire generation, his name became associated with the trial long before anyone remembered the football. It didn't stop there either. In 2008, he was convicted in Las Vegas for an armed robbery tied to sports memorabilia, a case that shocked people all over again given everything that had already happened. He ended up sentenced to years behind bars before getting released on parole after serving the minimum required time. He passed away in 2024 after fighting cancer, closing out one of the most complicated legacies in American sports history. So here's the real question for Bills fans to sit with: can you separate someone's greatness on the field from everything they did off it? It's not a simple yes or no, and honestly, different fans are going to land in completely different places on this. The team clearly answered that question with their actions though. They built a $2 billion stadium, took 3 full years to get it done from the very first shovel in the ground to the ribbon-cutting ceremony, and when it came time to choose who represents this franchise going forward, they made the call to leave him out completely. Some fans think football achievements should stand on their own no matter what happens later in someone's life. Others think keeping him out was exactly the right move for a place built for families and the next generation of fans who are walking through those doors for the first time. There's honestly no clean answer here, but that's exactly why everyone's talking about it, and why this decision is going to stick around in conversation for a long time. Now stick with me, because the second story we've got today could actually shape whether this team makes a real Super Bowl run this season, and it involves a name a lot of you have probably already heard floating around. Buffalo might be circling another receiver to add to Josh Allen's arsenal, and this rumor is heating up fast. The name on everyone's radar is New England's Kayshon Boutte. According to recent reports, both Buffalo and Washington have shown up as possible destinations if New England decides to move on from him before the season starts. Why would the Patriots even consider letting him go? Their receiver room just got a whole lot more crowded after they brought in Romeo Doubs and A.J. Brown this offseason, which suddenly makes Boutte expendable in a depth chart that's now stacked with talent. One analyst from Athlon Sports laid out exactly why Buffalo makes sense as a landing spot. DJ Moore would slot in as Josh Allen's clear number one option, but everyone behind him, guys like Mecole Hardman, Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer, and Khalil Shakir, leaves the door open for one more legitimate outside threat who can stretch the field and create mismatches. Here's a question for you to chew on. Would a fresh face actually move the needle for this offense, or are the receivers already on the roster enough to get the job done come playoff time? Let's talk money, because this is where it gets interesting. Boutte is in the last year of his rookie deal, set to hit free agency after the 2026 season, and is only making a base salary of around $1.5 million. That's pocket change in today's NFL. If New England trades him, they'd barely take a cap hit either. We are talking roughly $31,000 in dead money. From a financial standpoint, this would be an easy, low-risk move for Buffalo to make without disrupting the rest of their cap situation. The real question is whether Buffalo's front office sees enough upside in him to actually give something up in return. Some reports suggest New England could be asking for something in the range of a third-round pick in the 2027 draft, which isn't nothing, but it's also not a steep price for a player who could contribute right away. Here's my take. Josh Allen has made plenty of receivers look better than expected once they land in that offense. We've watched it happen over and over again. Adding a young guy with real upside is rarely a bad idea on paper, especially this late in his rookie deal when the cost is still manageable. But this front office has never been the type to overpay for depth pieces. They typically only pull the trigger when they're convinced a player genuinely raises the ceiling of this football team, not just adds another body to the rotation. So the real question becomes, is Boutte actually that guy, or just another name in a trade rumor that fades out in a week once training camp starts? Here's your comment challenge. If you had to pick a side, who's more right here? The fans who think on-field legends deserve recognition no matter what happened later, or the team for drawing a hard line and keeping the focus on family-friendly history? Drop your answer below, and don't hold back, because I already know this is going to get heated. And while you're down there, let us know this too. Would you actually want this trade to happen if the price tag stayed reasonable, or do you think the current receiver room is already good enough to compete for a championship without making a single move? Between a franchise legend being shut out of stadium history and a potential trade that could shake up the receiver room before the season even starts, it's been a loaded week for this fanbase. Every single move this organization makes right now gets judged through one lens. Does it get this team closer to a championship? That's the standard. That's the pressure. And honestly, that's exactly where a team with this much talent should be living right now. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe for more updates just like this one. Drop your thoughts below. I already know the comments are going to be heated on both of these stories. Thanks for watching, and let's keep building toward that championship.